The darkness loomed like an impenetrable shroud as I set out on that fateful night. The road stretched ahead of me, a never-ending black ribbon leading into the unknown. I clutched the steering wheel tightly, trying to shake off the unease that gnawed at the edges of my mind. It was just a routine drive home, or so I thought. I had taken this desolate highway countless times before, but tonight felt different. The moon was hidden behind a thick layer of clouds, casting an eerie stillness upon the landscape. The dim glow of my headlights was all that separated me from the abyss that surrounded me. As I drove deeper into the night, the feeling of isolation intensified. Not a single car passed by in either direction. No signs of civilization or life broke the monotony of the dark countryside. My phone displayed no signal, leaving me stranded with my thoughts as the road stretched on endlessly. Suddenly, I noticed a faint figure in the distance, standing in the middle of the road. I squinted, trying to make out what it was. Panic gripped my chest as the figure grew closer. It was a woman, dressed in a tattered white gown that seemed to glow in the moonless night. I slammed on the brakes, heart pounding in my chest. My rational mind told me to stay in the car, but an overwhelming sense of concern took over. I had to check if she needed help. Rolling down the window slightly, I called out, "Are you okay? Do you need any assistance?" The woman turned towards me, revealing a face devoid of any emotion. Her eyes were hollow pits of darkness, and her lips were stained with an unnatural shade of red. It was as if all the life had been drained from her. In a chilling voice, she whispered, "Help me." The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, and a chill ran down my spine. I had an overwhelming urge to drive away and never look back, but something held me in place. Against my better judgment, I opened the door and stepped out. As I approached the woman, I noticed an unsettling silence. There were no crickets chirping, no wind rustling through the trees. It was as if the world held its breath, waiting for something dreadful to unfold. "Ma'am, are you lost?" I asked, trying to sound calm. Without a word, she pointed down the road in the direction I'd been traveling. Her gaze never left mine, sending shivers through my soul. "Something's coming," she said, her voice carrying a warning that sent a chill down my spine. I turned back to my car, intending to leave, but the engine refused to start. Panic washed over me as I tried frantically to get it running again, but it was as if the car had succumbed to the eerie silence that surrounded us. Then, in the distance, I heard a faint rumble. The ground trembled under my feet and a sense of impending doom filled the air. The woman's warning echoed in my mind, and I knew I had to get away from whatever was approaching. Leaving the car behind, I ran down the road, away from the strange woman and the approaching danger. The rumbling grew louder, and I could feel the ground shaking beneath me. I stumbled and fell, scraping my hands on the rough asphalt, but I forced myself to keep moving. In the distance, I saw headlights approaching, a single pair of glowing orbs in the dark. Relief washed over me, thinking that help had finally arrived. But as the vehicle drew nearer, I could see that it was no ordinary car. It was an ancient, rusted hulk of metal, its windows shattered, and its headlights flickering like dying stars. A guttural scream escaped my throat as the car came to a screeching halt before me. The door creaked open, and I caught a glimpse of a pale, skeletal hand reaching out to me. I turned and ran as fast as my trembling legs could carry me, not daring to look back. My breath came in ragged gasps as I stumbled through the darkness, praying for some sign of civilization. But the road remained deserted, and the oppressive silence never lifted. Time seemed to stretch endlessly as I ran, and I could feel myself losing all sense of direction. Just when I thought I could go no further, I saw a faint glimmer of light in the distance. As I drew closer, I realized it was a small, run-down gas station. Relief washed over me, and I stumbled inside, gasping for breath. An old man stood behind the counter, his face etched with deep lines of age. He looked up at me with curious eyes as I tried to catch my breath. "Are you all right, son?" he asked in a hoarse voice. I tried to speak, to explain what had happened, but my words failed me. The terror and exhaustion were overwhelming, leaving me speechless. The old man nodded knowingly, as if he had seen it all before. "You're not the first to encounter the terrors of that road, and you won't be the last," he said cryptically.